You know, when you picture the startup world, a certain image probably pops into your head, right? It's all about bold ideas, relentless drive, and world-changing innovation. And the people right in the middle of it all? Well, we have some pretty big words for them.
Founder, innovator, visionary. I mean, you hear these titles all the time. They sound powerful, they're inspiring, and honestly, they paint this picture of a modern-day hero who's not just building a business, but literally shaping the future.
But here's the thing. Behind all the glowing press and the amazing success stories, there's a completely different reality. An absolutely immense pressure that comes with trying to be all those things at once. So what's the real human cost of trying to wear all those hats?
To really get it, we have to start here. Being an entrepreneur isn't just a job you do. It's a social role. And just like any role, think of an actor on a stage, it comes with a script, a set of expectations for how you're supposed to act, think, and even feel. A script that's handed to you by everyone from your investors to your friends and family.
And look, this isn't just some vague idea. It's actually a pretty well-established concept in social science. Researchers have known for a long time that the roles we play in society really shape our actions in predictable ways. And that role of entrepreneur, it's absolutely no different.
So what happens when the demands of that role, the script, just become overwhelming? Well, that creates a very specific kind of friction, a psychological strain that has a name: role stress.
To put it simply, role stress is that tension and friction you feel when all the expectations being piled on you become too confusing, or they start pulling you in opposite directions, or it's just too much. This is the absolute core of that hidden struggle we're diving into.
Okay, now here's the crucial part. This isn't just one big, vague feeling of being stressed out. No way. Role stress actually breaks down into 3 very distinct, identifiable pressures. Let's dig into each one.
First up, you've got role conflict. Okay, picture this. Your investors are breathing down your neck demanding faster growth and more profit, like yesterday. But at the exact same time, your customers are asking for new features that are going to take a lot of time and resources to develop. You're being pulled in 2 totally opposite directions. Satisfy one group and you're almost guaranteed to disappoint the other. That's role conflict.
Next up is role ambiguity. This one is all about that fog of uncertainty. As a founder, you're creating something from scratch. There's no instruction manual, no clear roadmap. You might be totally unsure what the right move is, or how anyone is even going to measure whether you're succeeding or failing. It's like trying to navigate a new city without a map at night.
And finally, there's role overload. And this is probably the one that sounds the most familiar to all of us. It's just the simple, brutal math of having 100 hours of absolutely essential work to do in a week that, well, only has so many hours. The demands on your time and your energy just completely outstrip your capacity to meet them. It's that classic feeling of being stretched way too thin.
So we know what role stress is, but what really causes it to flare up? Well, research points to a few key triggers, or as they're called in the literature, antecedents. Let's take a look at what sets the stage for these pressures to really start building up.
So here are the 4 main factors. First, you've got role novelty, which basically just means you're new to this whole entrepreneur thing. Then, role advisors. How strong is your support network? Who can you turn to? The last 2 are really about your mindset, how you personally handle uncertainty, and something called your locus of control, which is a fancy way of asking, do you feel like you're in the driver's seat or are you just along for the ride?
Now, these triggers don't just create stress in a little bubble. No, that stress has real, tangible consequences that ripple outwards, affecting everything from your job performance to the actual survival of your company.
But here's where it gets really fascinating. You might think that when role stress gets too high, founders just burn out and quit. End of story. But the research actually shows the chain of events is a bit more subtle than that.
So here's the key thing to understand. High role stress doesn't just directly lead to quitting. First, it starts to eat away at your job satisfaction. All that constant conflict, the fog of ambiguity, the overload, it just drains the passion right out of the work. And it's this loss of satisfaction that ultimately plants the seed of walking away, or what researchers call withdrawal.
And then there's this really powerful feedback loop with performance. When you're stressed, your performance often suffers because your effort is just scattered and inefficient. But, and this is the hopeful part, on the flip side, when you're performing well, hitting those milestones and getting good feedback, that success can actually reduce the feelings of stress. It really is a two-way street.
Of course, this kind of pressure doesn't just stay neatly packed away at the office.
It spills over into an entrepreneur's personal life, leading to something called work-family conflict. And this creates its own vicious cycle. Stress at home makes it harder to cope at work, and stress at work makes things harder at home, leaving you with very little room to ever recover and find some balance.
So after breaking all of this down, why is having a framework like this so important? I mean, what does it actually change for entrepreneurs and the people out there trying to support them?
Well, it's because by giving these pressures a name, by being able to tell the difference between conflict, ambiguity, and overload, we can finally stop treating stress as this one big, unbeatable monster. Instead, we can start to diagnose the specific problem. Are you feeling overloaded, or is the real issue that you're feeling lost in ambiguity? The answer to that question points to two very different solutions.
And this all leads us to one final thought. The whole grind-at-all-costs culture often treats stress like it's a badge of honor. But what if understanding the mechanics of that stress is actually the real key? If we can identify and address the specific role stresses that founders are facing, aren't we doing more than just helping individuals? Aren't we fundamentally building stronger, more sustainable, and way more resilient businesses from the ground up?